Hey everyone, this is Rachel. One of my subscribers asked me to show them how I make a simple sketch. So I'm just kind of doing a very janky video about it. So here's what I use. It's Windows Publisher. It comes with your Office programming. If you have Office, you can use other things to make this. I just find Windows Publisher to be the easiest. So I have this saved. It is 6 inches by 6 inch square, and I just have this saved permanently, and it's called 12 by 12. So I'm just showing you what I do is I go to the shape icon and I choose a square, and then I change it to 6 by 6, and it automatically does inches. And then as you can see, it comes up this. So I do everything half size. So I was just showing you how I do my background, but I save that and then I save a copy when I complete it, so I don't save it as the original 12 by 12. So everything is half size. So I know my 4 by 6 photo is going to be 2 by 3. So this, when you look at it in scale, would be the size of a horizontal 4 by 6 photo in on a 12 by 12 page. Now I do a fill, which is the wording they use. Basically, I fill the color in as white, just so that way if I layer things over and under, I can see what it will look like to my eye. And then what I do is I do not normally do a one photo sketch, just because those I don't find difficult to do. In this particular case, for this example, I am going to do a one photo sketch just to give you an idea of how to do it. So when I'm doing embellishment clusters, I usually just use a shape. Sometimes I choose a heart, sometimes I choose a star, sometimes I choose a circle. I don't necessarily specifically mean that I'm going to use stars in that layout. It's just a placeholder for me. So I was just showing you how I layer it above or under. And now what I'm doing is I'm just drawing boxes, and those are going to represent my pattern paper. So I basically just kind of create boxes until I get something that I like. Then I work on the fills and I work on the layers, basically just bringing stuff forward, sending stuff back. What I'm doing here is I'm choosing a pattern. And once again, this is not a pattern I plan to stick to when it comes to actually doing this sketch. It's just, I'm looking for a darker pattern or a lighter pattern or a tone on tone pattern. They're all tone on tone because everything's in black and white. So in Publisher, this is just what you can do. They have patterns you can choose from, and I'm just choosing one. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the larger piece that I've chosen to also be pattern paper. And I'm just going to repeat this where I choose one background color and one foreground color, and that way it gives a pattern. There's all different sorts of patterns in there. And I just choose two tones of gray. Sometimes I choose a light and a dark if I know I'm going to want paper that's contrasting, or I choose two tones of gray that are very close to each other if I know I'm going to want a more tone on tone. And in here you'll see where I'm choosing to send it backwards, because obviously I want it to fall behind my photo, but I could have also put it another layer backwards if I'd wanted that smaller piece to be in front of the bigger piece of pattern paper. So now I'm trying to create a text box and I'm getting an email. Ignore that. So now one of the choices you can make for shapes is a text box rather than just a regular rectangle. They also have the choice of text box. And so what I can do is choose the text box and then choose a larger font. And then all I do is I write the word title. Sometimes if I'm thinking about having a longer title, I'll write title, 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 title. But for this particular one, I don't necessarily have something in uh, a thought about what this is actually for. It's just I'm just making this to show you guys a simple version. So I have this, and now I'm going to go ahead and what am I doing now? I don't remember. Oh, I decide this looks like it needs a border. So what I'm doing is I'm making a box that is 5.75 by 5.75. So when this is in 12 by 12, this will leave a 1/2 inch border around the whole thing. So I'm going to take that, make that my either a white cardstock or a lightly patterned paper, and then I'm going to border it with a more dynamic dark color. I may change my mind. I may decide to um, and then I'm going to send it backwards. I may choose to. So here's the thing is, when you're doing this, sometimes you'll have to send something backwards, like all the way to the back, and then bring it forward one layer. So a lot of times it's just playing around, seeing what works, especially when you're first starting with it. Right now I'm doing it one-handed, so I'm not as quick as I normally am. And next, what I'm doing is I'm creating a journaling box. Now, there are several different ways I do this. If I'm thinking that I'm going to work with white cardstock or a light pattern paper, I'll simply write the journaling right on the back. I won't change the fill. I'll just leave it as the background. I won't uh, ignore that. I messed up something. I won't uh, give it a border because I'm not planning on putting it on a journaling card or some sort of label sticker. I'm just going to write it on my layout. Now, in this regular one, just to show you what I did, what I'm going to do, oh, I got a phone call. Sorry. Um, what I'm going to do is I am going to both fill it with white as if I'm going to put it on another piece of paper or a sticker or something like that. And then I'm also going to border add a border to the journaling as like I said, as I'm doing it as a sticker or a label or something like that. And I don't remember if I forget to scroll up so you can see what I'm doing. So, but here you can see I am changing the fill to white, which is hard to see on the background, is like a light gray. And then I'm also adding a thin border. So once I unclick from there, you'll see now that my journaling has a thin border line around it. And I'm just showing you, because it was so hard to see with that white to light gray, I just wanted to show you that I do put a different fill color on that to show that it is different. Now, what I usually do is I write the word journaling and then I just highlight it and Control V, and so Control C then Control V. Yeah, that's right. So I've decided I need to add more embellishment clusters rather than just having the one up by the title. So I just did the same, Control Copy, Control Paste, and I'm just tilting this one a little bit just to, um, even though I'm just using this as an idea. Like I might not stick with this even though it's a sketch I drew. I may not stick with this entirely the way it is right here. But it it still needs to be pleasing to my eye here, even if I don't necessarily stick all the way with it. Now, what I'm showing you now is over time, I've created another file and I call it special shapes. And I just use it as things that are slightly different that I don't use all the time, but I don't want to recreate every time. So if you see those two, those are mixed media backgrounds. So if I'm planning on using a packaging technique, the one I'm highlighting right now, I use if I'm thinking about using enamel dots or paint spatters that are prominent. So I'm just going to paste a bunch of those on and then move them around. And as I said, obviously I can't place paint spatters specifically where I want them to be right right there, right next to that embellishment cluster, but I still want this to look good to my eye. So once I finish this, it's going to be the last thing I do. As I said, I tend to keep my sketches very simple. I do wish I'd added a third layer of pattern paper, kind of almost like a branding strip size across the same thing, but under the photo. So I will keep that in mind for if I was going to actually use this, and I might actually go ahead and use this as an actual sketch and show you guys. But as I'm playing around with what will end up being enamel dots or paint spatters, I'm going to finish up and that will be the last thing I'm going to do. So then what I do is I save it. I usually save it as a PDF and then I title it with, because normally when I create a sketch, I do create a sketch for a specific layout. So I would say, I would title it layout about Xanthe wearing a hat, which there is no layout about that because Xanthe doesn't wear hats. But So I'm just showing you what I would do is I would go ahead and save it as a PDF. You can also save it as a JPEG, whatever works for you. So that is my video for today. Thanks so guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave it below. I hope that helped answer some questions about making a simple sketch. Bye.